Justin, the first time you played Vegas, obviously, I think Maxx Crosby had 4 tackles for loss. What's the unique challenge of dealing with him and that Vegas front?
He's playing at a really high level. I think he leads the league right now in defensive ends with tackle for losses right now. He's an extremely violent player that plays with a great motor. So accounting for him was something that we looked at, obviously throughout the game. But we didn't have a lot of answers for some of the stuff he was doing as far as his alignments. This game, ways to get around that, things to affect him. But not only that, now you look on the other side and you have another problem. So just being a little bit smarter with what we're calling, what we're asking our guys to do, putting them in the best situation possible this game.
Hey, how much do you think Jalen Virgil will be involved in the game plan? And also, what was cool to see about his, coming out moment last week?
I think Jalen's really coming along. I think Coach Outten really getting him going. He's been committed to everything that he's been doing. I know he's been behind the scenes as far as just letting the other guys that were ahead of him play. Now you see the injury bug hitting, and we're expecting him to pick it up as far as the reps. He's a very explosive player as well. You saw it on the touchdown where he ran away from everybody. He's a guy that's young, still learning all the details and the theatrics as far as the alignments, the motions, and all that. But again, another guy we got to be very smart with on how we take his talents and kind of put them into effect.
On a couple of offensive linemen, first Luke Wattenberg. How did he do, given how little work he'd had kind of going in, and how much work is he getting out there this week? Yeah,
Luke, as expected with a rookie, taking the field for the first time in a real game situation, I think he handled it very well. I think it was the second or third player was a sneak, and he had a head-up nose, and he got welcomed to the NFL for the first time. But the second time, he got his pads under, and he drove the guy back. So it's just the adjustment portion of it. Obviously, the snap as far as that, underneath center and zoning to his left, I believe we had the fumbled snap. Those are reps that he needs, and they're crucial reps. So, with the situation up front, he's going to have to obviously amp up his reps of practice, getting involved more with, center quarterback exchange pre-practice and post-practice. But I feel like he handled as far as the direction of traffic. I think he did a good job.
And second, how close is Tom Compton to being ready, and where do you see him fitting in on the line once he gets out there?
Yeah, Tom's getting close here. Kind of Billy's situation, if you remember back, where he was kind of getting acclimated. Feels good with his previous injury, just getting the reps underneath of him, feeling somebody bull on him, sitting down, just using the technique. Playing full speed, so he's a guy that obviously don't want to throw him in the game when he's when he's uncomfortable, and you got to have a guy that's confident out there. So the unique thing about Tom is he's a guy that can play all 4 positions, guard, tackle, both sides. So he's very, very smart. He's very tough. He's a guy that can fill in for us if need be in certain situations.
Coach, Nate's talked about how collaborative he wants everything to be, and I think you've mentioned it as well. And that all makes sense during the week. But in game, how hard is it for anybody to maybe, I don't want to say overrule him because he's the coach, but have your suggestions heard? I'm not trying to get you in trouble with your boss, but just, if you think that you should maybe go a different way, how open is he to that in game?
Yeah, he's very open with all collaboration. You get your next drive ready in situations that you see in the previous drive. Obviously, you walk in with your openers, and typically they're based off of what you've seen throughout the week. But throughout the whole game, there's a lot of collaboration, not only with me but with Clint. Just getting the information up top as far as the coverages and the fronts and the pressures that we're seeing, and just giving him the best opportunities to call the best play. So there's a lot of collaboration. There's not a lot of kickback. I think he does a really good job as far as just taking in all the ideas and kind of, ordering them in his likeness. But I think he does a great job as far as just listening and then, calling it.
You rotated all 3 running backs a lot on Sunday against the Titans. How do you guys decide that rotation? Is it something that continues and changes during the game? Is that something you decide beforehand?
Well, you like to get the ball, the guy on the field that's got the hot hand. And right now we don't have a hot hand in the run game. So, you're sitting there, you're trying to get certain guys in to kind of see if they're going to have that moment and move on and get him a little bit more with the series. But, certain situations in third down, you have guys that are a little bit better in those protection aspects. And then obviously you got Chase, who's a different bird as far as his speed, athletic ability to open up and run. So it's a unique situation with those guys. I feel like they're all really good guys in the room as far as being professional and understanding that it's a role. You know what I mean? It's not just hey, you're number 1, 2, and 3. We're going to need all you guys.
Yeah, Coach, the pass protection seemed to break down in the second half. Was that because of the offensive line, newcomers that you had to insert in there? And how much would emphasizing the running game help in that area?
Yeah, you like to put it on the offensive line every play when you see a guy getting hit and a quarterback getting hit and scrambling and running. There's that, but there's other instances where that play out differently. Whether it's a guy running the wrong route or missing a progression, there's a lot of things involved with that. So to sit here and say, well, it's just the offensive line, it's easy to say that, but when you look at it from the detail part of it. Just needs to be better. We need to make better decisions with our calls up front in certain situations. We've got to get the ball out. We've got to be smart with it and just live another day. Can you go back to your second question? The running game, yes. No doubt. That's what you want to lean on. And as we were moving forward in the second half, we wanted to lean on the run game a little bit more. But with the new bodies now going in, the trust factor with that, but you also have to think about the trust factor in the protection world. So it was a little bit of a bind in those situations where you have these great plays with your starters in at that point, and then all of a sudden you got to change up the scheme a little bit. You know what I mean? Whether it's more inside zone or outside zone or gap scheme. So we had a plan as far as moving forward after the second injury, but you like to get the run game involved more, obviously in the first half and the second half to start it out and get the flow going and take the pressure off of 3.
A little bit of a follow-up on what you just mentioned in terms of changing the game plan. When you have Jerry go down early, KJ goes out Wednesday in practice, what does that look like on game day in terms of how you're trying to make things work? Is it getting rid of an entire section of what you're trying to do, or just try to keep running the same plays with the different guys? What does that look like?
Yeah, you try to equip yourself every, Monday, Tuesday when you're game planning. So if this guy goes down, here's a section for you, especially in our, multiple tight end sets. You got, when Beck went down a couple weeks ago, you got to go to a different section. You got to have answers. When a receiver goes down, and you have a lot of plans for him, that typically puts you in a bind in those situations. You got to be smart with the concepts you're asking those other guys to do in those certain situations, because they may have not gotten that rep just because when the play design's for a certain guy and he's getting all the reps and all the looks, and then you ask another guy to come in, you're gambling in those situations. So you're always constantly adjusting in this league, whether it's a defensive adjustment or personnel adjustments. But I think these guys, like a guy like Kendall Hinton, my hat is off to that dude. Like he is a baller. He's a guy that is a silent leader. He does his role, and he'll do anything possible to get the job done. And I don't know if you noticed on the quarterback sneak, he fly motion, and he ended up pushing Russell from behind. That's the kind of guy he is. He's going to try to do his best to make the best of every play.
Coach Outten, thank you.
Thanks, guys.